again folks, and welcome back to this week's video. So again, this week we are heading out into the wilds looking for video games in any place we can find. We're talking charity shops, CX, pawn shops, anywhere that might sell video games. So first this week I was away for business with my wife somewhere near Silverstone in the UK. So the first place I went was in a town called Brackley. So how do you think the search is going to go? Is it going to be a photo finish or a non-starter? Let's find out. But before we jump into this week's game hunting footage, please remember to subscribe. I am trying to get out into the wild as much as possible this year, and I want to take you folks along with me. So hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and let's get into the video. The first place I managed to find was Brackley Antique Fair. So it's one of those kind of things. Sometimes I will go around these antique fairs and sometimes I won't, because you never know what you're going to find, such as that stuffed crocodile face. But they are a strange one to search through. The problem with these antique fairs is they're kind of not really geared that much towards video games, but you never know what is going to be hiding in one of these kind of little booths, and it's just exciting to look around them if nothing else. You know, they're not that common in the UK, so it's always cool to explore, especially if you are away somewhere you haven't been before. But this place was absolutely huge. I think it was under a supermarket, and literally the entire basement of this supermarket seemed to be absolutely stocked full of things to look through. This was the first booth that really caught my eye, as it looked like they had some pretty cool vintage toys and some more kind of up-to-date things such as these Game of Thrones Blu-ray box set. Yeah, there was definitely a few little bits hidden in here, such as these like really nice mint and carded VR Troopers figures. I think it's kind of one of those programs that people don't really think about as much as, say, Power Rangers, but VR Troopers was a pretty solid program back in the day, but there was quite a few little bits hiding in here. This place was definitely really stacked with some cool little collectible bits. Probably the highlight of this booth was these erasers from like 1977 from Star Wars, shaped as little vinyl records. These were super cool, but I didn't really know what I would do with them. But you know me, if there is a game within 50 meters of me, I am gonna sniff it out. And I did manage to find probably the only game in this place, and it was Disney Infinity for the Wii, and it was not even priced. One of the main reasons though that I do love to look around these antique fairs is the fact you literally never know what you're going to find, such as this naughty vending machine which was for sale, which had some incredible items stocked inside it. Again, I don't think sadly I had enough room for this in the games room, neither did I have enough room for that giant dragon head or this bar sign round the corner here, but that would look pretty awesome in someone's man cave. Like I said, these places, I will find a video game anywhere. You know, it was a £5 PC game, but I kind of digress. But you know, it was a cool day off. It was a day off I was just kind of killing time. So it's nice to be able to kind of kick back and just wander around this place at my leisure. You know, there isn't a lot of stuff in there that I was really too interested in, but it was just cool seeing some really peculiar items, such as this signed WWE artwork. So, you know, it's the thing with these places, there is so much stuff you're going to see that's so random, but I did very much like this sofa. That would be very, very nice back in the games room, but I don't know if I could have brought it halfway across the country or that bar, so sadly I had to leave both of those behind. As well as the antiques fair, there was of course a plethora of charity shops in the same town, and you know, I'm going to go through those DVDs and find that one game. You know, Play TV for the PlayStation 3 for £1.50 didn't really tickle my fancy. But one thing to look out for when you are searching for games is always wrestling DVDs. Some of these are getting super expensive these days. I didn't have enough signal to actually check how much this one was worth, but keep an eye. I headed a couple of miles down the road to the next town and went through a couple of charity shops there, but there was nothing too exciting. There was basically a couple of like Wii shovelware games and some PC games. I don't know, maybe somebody in the area is looking for games as well and had kind of cleared these places out. There was a few of these giant, and I do mean giant, Star Wars figures, but other than that, there was nothing much to look at. So it seems like my trip away wasn't so successful in game hunting, but I was back on the hunt out in the glamorous seaside town of Great Yarmouth, where the Pierce Show reigns supreme. The graffiti is very much based on chips and seagulls, and you can walk down the main street and pick up an air rifle, a sword, or some knives, or just whatever you need. Seriously, if I cannot find video games here, I don't know where I'm going to find them. You know me, I'm never going to be put off game hunting, so I'm straight back on it into the charity shops and straight away finding some games, even if they are Madden for the PC, which to be fair, you don't see that often. And of course we have our classic FIFAs, as that's where they all live. In the DVD section there were some pretty good films, and somebody obviously decided they did not like the Mad Max films anymore. For 50p I was quite tempted to pick these up, but I think I'd rather wait on the Blu-ray version. I'm sure I'll pick that up somewhere down the line. Also, I was amazed, spoiler alert, of how many VHS tapes I saw while in Great Yarmouth. I don't know if it's just people there only just getting rid of their VHS tapes or what. Of course, there was a pile of FIFAs and a couple of DS games, nothing really to write home about, even though I was quite tempted to pick up the cooking guide so I knew what was for dinner. One quite random thing I did see here was some CDRs, and I think some people do sell these for some decent money, but I decided to pass them up. But, you know, I kept hunting around. This is another kind of weird one. Loads of films from what looks like Love Film. If anyone can remember that, shout me out in the comments down below. I used to get so many movies from Love Film. It was such a good way to watch them when the internet just wasn't as quick as it is today. But I kept searching around and finally found another lightsaber for my collection.
Your lightsabers will make a fine addition to my collection.
Nestled among the market stalls of the town, there was this awesome little comic book stand. So I did flick through a couple of these boxes, but I'm just not very well versed in comic book collecting, but definitely one I'd like to branch into. After the marketplace, we were on to more charity shops. It was actually quite surprising to see some PS1 games in fairly decent condition in a charity shop. Sadly, they were all football games, no surprise there, but this shop did have a pretty good selection of games nonetheless, and one I had never seen before, as well as PS4 games in a charity shop. That is always super cool. But yeah, there was a really large selection here. Some of them were quite highly priced though. I kind of think somebody who worked in this shop probably knows their video games fairly well, but there was definitely some gems hidden among them, and I did manage to pick one up, even though it wasn't priced, for a pretty good deal. I could tell this charity shop knew what they were doing their price when I saw Resident Evil games put up on a higher shelf, nicely displayed, as well as Animal Crossing and a very cool Tomb Raider collection. So next up we were going to Cash Converters, and they had some awesome handheld stuff in here. There was some really nice 3DSs, some DSs, all the standard Wii stuff, loads of loose cartridge games. I was on the lookout obviously for any Pokemon games, but sadly they did not have any loose. The only problem I did have with this store is their pricing system was a little bit odd. Some of the games had prices on, and I later found out that was not actually the price of the games. This Sonic game looked like it was £5, but I took it up to the till and that was not the case.
That's really good.
There's a couple of other little weird oddities in the shop, as well as these obviously not official boxed PlayStation and PlayStation 2 controllers. You know, A+ for effort, but they are obviously not legit. But in the window, that Zelda 3DS is absolutely incredible, and that Mario Anniversary 2DS or 3DS, I don't know which one it is, but that is a thing of beauty. I would love to have added both of these into the collection. Okay, so before we go on the video, I just want to explain this is the most crazy game shop I've ever seen. I don't use hyperbole in my titles. I'm trying not to just name them for clickbait. This place is legit insane. I was flabbergasted when I walked into the shop. It barely had anything about it on Google. I just googled game shops in Great Yarmouth. This came up. It had the weirdest opening hours of all time. It was open 2 days a week for 3 hours a day, and this place was absolutely crazy. Like, I've tried to do it justice in the videos, but it's incredible. I've never seen such a small shop with so much stuff. But don't take my word for it. Let's jump straight back into the video. So this is a shop called Play in the centre of Great Yarmouth, and it is like a hoarder's paradise. This place is absolutely stacked from the floor to the ceiling with games and stuff. It is absolutely incredible. This is probably what the games room would look like if I didn't have a little bit more self-control, but it was amazing. This was probably the craziest part about this shop though. All of the prices on the games were not actually the prices. At first look, some of these prices were absolutely insane. But the guy, literally, you would take something up to him and ask the price, and he would just tell you off the top of his head. That is some incredible gaming knowledge. But The only problem was these prices all seemed really high, like a couple of pounds. Some things were like £5 or £10 more than I think they should have been. Personally, I think this is someone's game collection and he does not really want to let go, but what a collection it is. I'm always on the lookout for games for a 20 in 2022 collection, and I finally managed to find a copy of Sonic for the Master System, but sadly it was priced a little bit too high. But then you had items like this Guitar Hero, which was complete in the box for the PlayStation 2. It was an absolute steal, but I did pass it up, but the deals were just all over the place in this store. I think that was mainly the problem, like there was so much stuff, but the prices were just weird. There just didn't seem to be any kind of logic to anything in here, but it was an absolutely amazing experience. It's just one of those shops you kind of walk around and you're just in awe. Everywhere you look, you find something else which is more amazing than the last thing. Like some of the gaming figures, this Arbiter figure, I have never seen that. There was figures, statues, collector's editions, games, even strategy guides. I did pick out a few of these strategy guides, but his prices were sadly a little bit high for me, but what an experience this store was. After a little sit down and a few deep breaths, it was on to the next location. But just before we go there, just a moment's pause, just to reflect on this CX which sadly burnt down recently. I dread to think how many games were lost in that fire, but thankfully they have opened up a new branch just down the road. And you know the first thing I'm doing is checking the window, which was really weird to see how many Wii remotes there were with only one side. But straight into that glass cabinet, there was some good games, and I was definitely straight away drawn towards the PlayStation 1 games as I saw a copy of Metal Gear, which you know is on the 20 in 2022 games list. But sadly, after I checked it and had a look through it, once again it did not have the demo of Metal Gear Solid. But I'm starting to wonder, folks, let me know in the comments down below, do you think I should just be looking for a copy of that game which is just Metal Gear and not the Silent Hill demo, or hold out to try and get the complete package? Comment down below. Section I always look at in CX is of course the retro as such section. Now, when I always go straight towards the Wii U games, always looking for them, but it's like the Wii U and the GameCube, the selection is getting smaller every time I seem to go into CX. These games are getting harder and harder to find, which is why I'm really trying to build those collections now, and the same can be said for the original Xbox. These games are slowly disappearing. But I was very, very tempted by this copy of Simpsons Hit and Run, and it was actually in complete condition. So that was just about a wrap for our day out in Great Yarmouth, but I did find one little tiny shop on the way home which probably had enough pops for the entire population of Great Yarmouth, as well as cabinet after cabinet of amazingly geeky collectible stuff. There was again so many cool things in this shop. All of these things would look amazing in your games room or man cave or anywhere really you want to display stuff. I especially like that giant gremlin. That thing was super cool. If money was not an object, I would have spent so much money in this store, especially his next little booth which had all these Halo collectibles. But that is the thing with game collecting, you have to set yourself a budget. So that was the end of another week out in the wild game hunting. I did manage not to get eaten by the giant seagulls that are in Great Yarmouth. Seriously, these things were giant, and there was just enough time to take that change from the game hunt to put into this amazing Jurassic Park 2p machine, as is the classic way to end the day. There we have it then, folks. What an absolutely strange journey that was this week. We've been all across the country, and still the strangest game shop I've ever seen was only actually just down the road from me. Seriously, I was just so overwhelmed in that store. If you were ever in the area, just pay it a visit. So it's one of those things. Some weeks you'll pick up tons and tons of stuff. Some weeks you'll only get a few things. But as I said, it's always good to add another lightsaber into my collection. This isn't the most exciting one, but for 75p, let's just cut. I am a Star Wars nerd. I apologise, but you know, may the force be with you. That other charity shop actually had some pretty good games. It's always a bit weird when you see like kind of your Resident Evils and stuff like that literally put up on a podium, but it was good to pick up some pretty solid games. The first one was Rainbow Six Siege for the PlayStation 4, at just £2. I don't really think you can go wrong with that. I'm actually quite a fan of this game, even though I am pretty rubbish at it. And the other one, a bit of a wild card, was SimCity Creator. So I am actually a massive fan of the SimCity games and just kind of city building games in general. I've never seen this one, so let me know if you've played this and how well it works on the Wii. I kind of see it might work really well, kind of using the Wii remote as like a mouse, but let me know in the comments below if you've played this one. And our final pickup this week from the good old CX was Pikmin 3 for the Wii U. It's just getting harder and harder to find games for the Wii U. Even on eBay now, they're either incredibly expensive or just not there. So anytime I see a Wii U game I do not have, especially one such as Pikmin 3, because hand on heart, I've never actually played any of the Pikmin games. So roast me in the comments if you will, but I'm very glad to add this into the collection. And remember, I've said this multiple times before, buy your Wii U games now. They will only get more expensive down the line. You have been warned. That's a wrap then, folks. Another week out in the world searching for video games. And, you know, it's all about the hunt for me. We might not have found the rarest, the most amazing things. We might not have found a million games to add into the collection. But that is what a collection is. It builds slowly over time. And you just put your heart and hard work into it to build a collection over time. Some weeks you pick up 1 or 2 games. Some weeks you may pick up 100. It is all about the journey, not the destination. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did. Remember to subscribe, as I'm back every Saturday live at 5 with new videos. And as always, good luck hunting those games out there and keep playing the game. See y'all soon.